vibrations, and a shout out to all of the early risers. I am an early bird. This is the most beautiful time of the day, and this is day 1 of 30 in the early risers circle. So for those folks that would like to join in just some relaxation, and just as I'm sharing and being very intentional about setting the tone for the day. So in getting up very early, many people may wonder why, and even clients have asked me over the years, why do I get up so early? And so it's a time of great quiet without interruptions. If anything, I may hear some crickets or some birds or some dogs, but it is definitely an hour where our onboard intelligence really kicks in. So I'm going to set the timer so that this is short, succinct. You can use this time if you like. You can feel free to join. Sit in any position very comfortable for you. If you're very stiff, you may want to add a yoga block with you underneath your glutes to give you a little bit more height so that your hips can open up a little bit more. Or if you would like, you can sit in any position that is comfortable for you. You don't have to take any prescribed position, but it is important that your spine is nice and upright, right? Good posture, so that basically blood flow and oxygen can travel up to your brain. So in the early day, I feel really clear that we all have onboard divine innate intelligence that we're born with, and you can really hear and intuit, listen to that intelligence and hear it in the early morning, right? We have different parts of our intelligence communicating all the time, right? It appears in words, but we have the ego, and we also have our essence. Some people might say spirit, some people might say God, whatever that feels like, whatever feels right and resonates with you. But there's definitely a communication from inside that's happening every day. So I'm not stuck on the labels or what we call that, but it is a communication. So this morning or this early day, what I'm going to share first is the contemplation. So there's meditation and there's contemplation. This quiet meditation is relaxation. And we do know that science has shown that our whole body and blood chemistry is affected when we are very relaxed. By the same token, when we are extremely stressed, arguing, fussing, fighting, when we're constantly looking at these screens. Now, it doesn't even have to be a TV, but these computer screens, all the images that are constantly and incessantly, the barrage of images are affecting us on a chemical level. So we can make an effort to consciously shift how we feel, which will eventually end up in translating into our actions by relaxation. We call it meditation, relaxation, again, not chained to any particular label, but I make every effort to be very intentional around making myself feel better without, I want to make a distinction, without necessarily having the need to medicate or use things or people as a crutch, right? That's a big distinction. So I find in my personal practice and also working and holding space for other folks and clients, other human beings, and holding space, it is really critical to notice how we feel, right? To slow down and to listen to how we feel, because that's giving us some really important information and feedback. So one of the things that yesterday, that in my contemplation, right, the meditation part is relaxation, and contemplation is basically when you're asking a question. It could be something challenging you're working on in your life, a problem, a perceived problem, aka challenge that you're working on, and you want to answer for. And when I say answer, how to proceed, right? Because you may have gotten answers and not have moved or acted on some of the intelligence that you've gotten, right, from inside. So you can ask a question, and I find usually the answers to those questions come through very clearly in the wee hours. So in my contemplation, reasoning, just things that will come up very naturally, I was contemplating vices and enslavement, which I do often. The things, I'm fascinated by what drives human behavior and what entices us to almost hypnotically, subconsciously, mindlessly often give way to vices that that seem comforting, but also have us compromise our organs and our peace of mind, even though they are gratifying initially. It provide instant gratification and pacify us in the short term immediately. We can all, just in our own quiet moments, acknowledge that vices and things we use to pacify us sabotage our health, and through what I call the back door, come around through the back door, really dramatically affect our integrity, which takes a hit on our esteem and us feeling confident. And so it's like a loop in a cycle. So yesterday morning, I was contemplating, which I often do as a coach, around food and emotional eating and creating a healthy relationship with food and fitness, which go hand in hand. I really reason and examine our vices and mindless eating. So it's contemplating the style and the energetics, without trying to sound mystical, magical, or esoteric. The energetics around how and why we're eating what we eat, the style in which we eat, consume, right? And we're consuming. I don't know if we think about our reasons for consuming, but quite often it's not for nutrition, right? A lot of times it's for pleasure, right? It's for pleasure and to feel something and to have a pleasurable experience. And if only you can say what that is, but you may notice when you are stressed, to make yourself feel better, you may be using food or other substances. So that the inability to be very conscientious about the amounts that you need and cues to how much is appropriate, and eating much more than your organs can handle, mindlessly consuming to the point of creating ill health, and can show up as a form of not just slavery. I make the distinction of enslavement. So the contemplation, or what came to me in my contemplation, was one question: could it be fair to assess that junk food addiction is a form of enslavement that's based in trauma, and also chemical addiction, right? Again, just consider, could it be fair to assess that junk food addiction? When I'm saying junk food, I'm thinking things that are usually very, very heavily laden in sugar, salt, and fat, and eating it for crunch and for texture primarily, right? These are things masquerading. I call them substances masquerading as food, because the goal is not nutrition. The goal is distraction, entertainment, and pleasure. Could it be fair to assess that junk food addiction is a form of enslavement, something that we voluntarily participate in, based in trauma and chemical dependency? That's one part of the contemplation. And then also what came up with this question was the way in which we eat, consume, right? And here I'm talking about physical food, but this is not limited to physical food. The way that we eat can be a clue. It can be a big, and it can alert us and inform us to the rootedness, or the word that came with me is cementation, if there's such a word. Maybe I just made up, but being cemented, a cementation um, into, some would say, the matrix, or very programmed, uh, subconscious, mindless ways of moving, right, in this current climate, right, of human beings. It can be a big clue. It can also, and what I mean by a clue, the style and the way in which we are consuming and eating can alert us to blockages, plateaus, sticking points of unresolved trauma, shame, and anger. And so these are what I call backdoor behaviors, although it may seem that we're really soothing ourselves and distracting and entertaining ourselves in the mouth, which is these flavorings, right? Through the back door. And this may sometimes on the surface, we could say, like, our ego, which wants to defend us, will say, well, I don't have any shame about anything. I'm not angry, about anything. What trauma? And so it may take a lot of quiet and introspection and relaxation to notice what are the undertones and the underlying motivations in which we are consuming energy. Food is one example, but anything going through our orifices is a form of food or energy consumption. So just something to consider. We're going to take a few moments, just relaxation. I invite you to sit with your spine nice and tall, and just to tune in to your own breathing. Your eyes can be closed or they can be open.
So you're invited to set an intention for your day. You have the opportunity to intentionally choose, maybe perhaps even role play, how you would like to respond to the challenges that are going to be placed before you today with your name on it. You can choose in advance how you would like to respond to those challenges.
because they are going to come. You're up nice and early. You have enough time now to engage in your movement practice, if that's jumping rope or yoga or flexibility or jumping on your trampoline. And after you work up a nice sweat, you have enough time now to prepare healthy food for yourself. Ideally, peaceful consumption. As least harm as possible, at least that. With the greatest consideration for your own brain, your organs, your arteries, your mood. You're invited to just take one moment to think of something that you're grateful for. See if you can find something in your memory banks, in your mind's eye, that makes you laugh, that brings a smile immediately to your face. Take a mental snapshot. Hold on to that, and you're welcome to create a great day on purpose because you said so. See you soon. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you like. If you have questions on coaching or whole living foods as a lifestyle or beginning movement practice, you may have injuries or a small space. I want to know how to use kitchen equipment, what kind of kitchen equipment you need, or gym equipment if you have, or movement practice equipment, or you don't need any equipment. But if you have questions about those things, you'll feel free to reach out to me at bodyculinary.com. All right, see you soon.